Hey, so welcome to the main cut. I'm your host Jade, and I'm super excited to be here with our guest Kaori Nik, who is an international beauty and special effects artist who has over 15 years of experience in the natural hair and beauty space. Kaori has worked with the likes of supermodel Naomi Campbell, Olympic swimmer Simone Manuel, and has attended to people at some of the biggest world renowned events, the likes of New York Fashion Week, the Golden Globes, the Grammys. But she hasn't stopped there. Back in 2019, she also launched an Afro-Vegan Beauty, which is an online wellness platform that helps people explore plant-based living and cosmetic literacy. We're really excited to have you on here today. So welcome to the show, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you. When you put it all together like that, I just, I'm 36, which isn't old, but it's been a journey. So when you put it all together, it's like, wow, I guess I have been doing a lot with this time.
You've done so much, and I'm glad that I can put it all together like that. It gives you perspective. It's nice to be able to give people an intro.
Yes. So thank you for that. How are you? Thank you for having me.
No, I'm fine. It's amazing to have you here. We're really lucky to have some of your time because I can imagine you are super busy.
Girl, I had to be intentional about slowing down.
I can imagine because with all of I can imagine flying around. There must be a lot of flying from to and fro, working with lots of people, trying to figure out when do I pause versus when do I work.
Yes. That time management has got to be one of the most essential parts of the success is managing your time, making sure you have room for you. Because a lot of what we do behind the chair isn't just the technical aspect of the actual hair and makeup. It's pouring into these women and educating them and listening and, being a mirror.
Yeah. And it almost I guess getting your hair done sometimes is almost like a bit of therapy because you just get to sit down and talk to someone for hours.
The way these women open up in this chair, sometimes I want them to hold back. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need to know everything, but they just feel so comfortable. It's really an open space for us to get some of our issues worked out.
Yeah, and I think it always has been one of those spaces, where we have lots of women that come together in a space, whether it's in a salon or, whether
Yes.
the stylist is traveling out. And it's a moment, I guess, to just breathe. And so then when people have that moment, everything tends to come out.
It's just flowing. They're feeling vulnerable. We're sharing. It's a whole session.
Yeah, I think it will always be one of those moments when you're in the chair. And I mean, with so much experience under your belt, I think it would be great by starting with, telling us a bit about your journey into hairstyling. How did you get into it? Where did it all start?
Yes. I started in high school, actually. I wanted to go natural at around 15, 16. My hair idols at the time were Leela James, who's like an R&B singer, and Ludacris, the rapper. Okay, both of them had these big, fluid, like mobile afros. They were blown out. They weren't like the typical 60s packed afros. They were like blown out and free flowing. And something about riding in the car and letting your fro just be moving around was like, I need that feeling. I needed that feeling. So that was my start into going natural. And with that came protective styling because I didn't want to do the big chop. I didn't want to cut off all my hair and start from scratch. So I progressively cut off my relaxer via the braids. And at the time, Alicia Keys was really popular. So I had to learn how to braid
Okay.
because I didn't trust my image with other people. I had braiders, but if something went wrong, we're in high school. These girls aren't professional. We're all just braiding at home and sharing. So there were one too many times where my braider either caught an attitude or had to cancel last minute. And I was like, oh, this is going to be the last of this. This is going to be the last time that I get left out trying to figure out what to do with my hair. So I just started to learn. My mother taught me, who was very basic in her knowledge about hair. My grandmother is actually a cosmetologist.
Oh, amazing.
So I was able to, look at her for advisement, not necessarily advisement because I didn't know that I wanted to do hair at the time yet, but just seeing how my grandmother kept herself. Like Even
Yeah.
when she was sick and in the hospital, she had her rollers in, and just seeing how her setup was in the kitchen, and that whole the ritualistic aspect had always intrigued me.
Hmm.
And so getting into the braiding and the taking care of my natural hair is really where it all started. I didn't get into hair. I did start doing the basketball team and the football team's braids, just practicing. And they were friends of mine, so they would let me. And I wasn't the greatest at first. It definitely took time and practice, but high school is where it started. And it was really just a hustle. Once I found out I could make money off of it, I was like, oh, let me get a little more well versed in this, because I wasn't old enough to really work legally yet. So this was my way to build income, get my practice in, and focus on myself. I didn't get into official cosmetology school until 2009.
Okay. And so that decision to go straight into cosmetology school, did that come off the back of all of the work you done in high school? It's like, okay, hair is the thing that I really want to do.
It was interesting because I was really passionate about psychology, which still played out because we do psychology in hair. That's just a part of the job. Especially when you really care about Black women and how we feel about ourselves and our self esteem. Like we really pour into all of that when we're behind the chair.
Yeah.
So I started out as a psychology major, and then I had a friend of mine who was at an art school, Columbia in Chicago, and she showed me the art sector and how much these paintings cost. And I didn't know that artists were making money
Right.
to this magnitude. It was a brand new concept for me to think that artists made money like this. And so then I just started to do more research in my genre in the hair industry and seeing how much can you really make as a hairstylist? Like, is this worth? And that's what made me shift and say, let me at least get my cosmetology license so that if I wanted to do something with this later, I could be like official with it. I could go in and work at salons and do chemical services, cut services, because those are the only two things that you really need to learn aside from sanitation, which is major in cosmetology school. So I went ahead, got my license, and I continued to do hair in my mother's basement until I moved out here when I turned 26.
Right. And so I guess it's like that was the beginning of hair education for you. And how has that education kind of played a role in your journey as you've wanted to do more? Have you gone out and tried to like learn more things and kind of build yourself up that way?
100%. I think we're always learning. We're always students, especially in the beauty space, because there's always new techniques and new products to master. Um, in Chicago, to keep up with your cosmetology license, you have to do continued education courses. So I was seeking out, different techniques, different workshops, different educators so that I can continue to make sure that my education was up to date so that I can, preserve my certification. So that was the start. But in LA, it's not like that here. In LA, you just pay a $50 fee and they, let you keep your license up to date. So now it's even more important that I go individually to seek out any additional education from here forth. But working in the salon space is huge. And I honestly feel like that's one of the reasons why we're having a problem. And I know we'll get into that at some point. But being in salons with seasoned stylists is really important part of education because they're going to show you the things that you may not learn in class. They're going to
Yeah.
be the ones to tap you on the shoulder and be like, it's easier if you do it this way or make sure you do that. Like, and we don't really have that a lot because the salon culture is different. We're more so in a suite culture where you can buy a salon suite as an individual stylist and maintain your own atmosphere, your own space, but you don't get to rub shoulders with people that are more seasoned in the industry. So you do have to be aggressive now when it comes to your education, especially if you're an independent contractor like a freelance stylist.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you made about working with seasoned stylists and gaining that knowledge from them because I can imagine even at like cosmetology school, they may not go into like the level of detail with textured hair that you need
No,
to
not at
manage
all.
the textured hair. So you've got to learn that from somebody or
Yeah.
go to like a specialist textured hairstyling course that's completely different and maybe outside of the cosmetology course.
Yes. And it was actually funny, my experience in cosmetology school, because I got a scholarship to go to a Redken school, which is it's a salon brand of products. They really are good with color though. That's what I've known about Redken, is that their color is what really makes them stand out. And it was great getting that education, but they don't touch on textured hair like that. But they did have one Black educator, but she was old school. So she was into the grease and the press and comb and all of that, which was cool. But when it came to me having clients in class, we would always argue in front of the clients. I'm like, we're not in 1980 anymore. Like, we do hair like this now. So it was funny in the moment, but she told me I can't undermine her in front of clients. So I had to chill. But you know, that that really was telling that I was helping other girls, mostly Caucasian women, learn about hair while I'm in hair school.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. It was
Yeah.
terrible in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some change here. Like in the UK a few years ago, there was a bill that was passed. So now all people that go and do hairstyling courses now they have to be called like a section of the course or a module on textured hair.
Okay, great.
But what that kind of fixes in some way is people getting into the profession. So the people that will be seasoned in 10, 15 years time, great.
Yeah.
But for the people that have already been hairstylists for 5, 6, 7, 8 years and they haven't had to go through that process, it's still
Yeah.
going to take some time until that kind of pays off. So
Hmm.
it feels like, like you said, just being surrounded by stylists that are seasoned will pay off for others so well. But it also feels like there's a lot that needs to change within the textured hair community for stylists and customers to have better interactions with each other.
Yeah,
And so it'd be
especially
great to hear
today.
your thoughts on that and what you think needs to change.
I think a lot of people need to start relying on people that are licensed. And I know a lot of people feel in different ways about that, but I think during the pandemic especially, we had an uprising in people that were looking to make side money, looking to hustle. And so they learned a little bit about lashes, learned a little bit about nails, learned a little bit about hair, and now they're doing public services. But that's a
Mm,
huge jump. We go through so much, so many hours during that certification process. We're learning about sanitation, we're learning about electricity, like how we're plugging in all of these hot tools, managing our spaces, keeping things clean, sanitized. There's a protocol, there's hair structure and
mhm,
chemistry. All these things are missed when you're simply just focusing on styling. That's why you have a lot of people that aren't washing the hair. They aren't treating natural hair for real, for real.
mhm,
They're just styling it or covering it with wigs, weaves, extensions, and things like that. So the care portion, I think, has really been lacking in the last 5 to 10 years. And it's
mhm.
unfortunate, but I think the vetting process for consumers needs to be a little more thorough.
Yeah,
And I feel that
yeah.
way with all personal service providers, like tattoo artists, massage therapists, lash technicians. All those people need to be vetted out with reviews, making sure you see their certifications. If you tend to ask a lot of questions and they're hesitant, I would just keep it moving. Like, I think we're seeing photos of other people's work on Instagram and like, oh, I'm gonna go to her, and not asking
Mhm,
any more questions.
mm.
And then we have these apps now. So I think there's a lot of things at play now that it has landed us here.
Yeah, it feels like there's there's for customers understanding what questions they should be asking so that they can get a better understanding of whether this person understands how to look after their hair. There's like asking the right questions at the beginning so that you hopefully don't fall into the trap of a bad experience. There's definitely
Yeah.
that. And then for stylists, it's using the right tools, like finding something. I mean, not for this to be a plug for Main Hookup, but we have a platform where we help stylists to find customers and customers to find stylists. It's like, how
Yeah.
do these people find each other online so they can book those appointments with each other really easily? Um,
Yes.
but the big question I know a lot of customers ask us is, what questions should I be asking a stylist when I speak to them for the first time or when I DM them for the first time? Like, what questions would you ask them?
I would ask if they have a link, because typically they do, that expresses a lot of the details of how to book with them, what their pricing are, their availability, all of that. Once you get all that information, if you still have questions, then I would follow up, because that's probably my biggest pet peeve is people asking me questions that I've either spent money on a platform to organize for them or that I've set aside. We have strategies for this. And so when clients don't take time to go through our protocols, it can be frustrating to be repeating. So you want to make sure you didn't overlook the answer already. Then once you have all the answers, I would definitely reaffirm, where it's located, if it's at someone's home or if it's in a professional salon space. I would confirm what kind of products are being used. Personally, I like to stick to majority Black owned. Sometimes that's important for people, sometimes it's not. If
Yeah.
you're color treated, letting them know that you're color treated, just letting people know if you have any sensitivities. You also want to inform the stylist, not just asking them questions, but also letting them know, like, this is what I'm coming with. And this
Yeah.
is, where I was. I love when clients give me a little bit of client history on themselves, like their last relationship with their stylist, why that didn't go well. Cause I want to know the why. Cause if you the problem, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know, is it them or is it you? Like, and what was the cause as to why?
Yeah.
And typically lately it's just been that they either are pregnant and they're taking time away from the chair, or they're getting into
Right.
something else, which is totally fine. But I definitely am a little more tender with clients who have had not the greatest relationship with their last stylist. Like, whether that
Yeah.
be verbally, them saying that their hair is just difficult or bad, that really hurts my feelings. I'm just like,
Mm.
why would they say that to you? Just say that you're not equipped. Don't say that the hair is bad.
Yeah. Don't blame the
Um,
hair.
girl, the stories that I have, the stories that I have. But yes, you want to be sure you understand their protocol, their payment method, what they prefer, um, cancellation fees, what that
Mm.
policy is. Because a lot of people have been getting their time wasted as well. People
Yeah.
not showing up for appointments or adding things last minute. You just want to confirm everything before you even step in there. And I would do that not the day before, but 2 to 3 days before, so that you have time in case something doesn't line up. Especially if you find a new stylist online, I would just communicate with them, get your questions answered as soon as possible.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're seeing more and more, like you said, stylists are coming with their requirements. So, please be on time, don't bring any other people to the appointment. All of those things are really fair.
Yes.
But a lot of what I've seen is, if your hair is only X inches long, I cannot do that. Or, it cannot be braided. Or if your hair is this kind of texture, that's not what I manage. Or, if you are coming to be braided, please have your hair washed and blow dried before you get there. And it's like these kind of lists that are almost taking things off of what we would expect a stylist to do. Like, I remember when I was younger and I would go to a hair salon with my mom, and it would be, it'd be a whole day affair. But it would be,
Yeah.
I would go there, my hair would be washed, I'd be put under the dryer, then I'd have my hair braided, and it would be a whole process where they would do everything. So you have some people and some generations who are transitioning from, I'm used to a stylist doing everything for me, to this person
Yeah.
is telling me to do half of it at home. And I think that's where there's friction. And it's kind of what you said earlier, which is there are lots of people who are styling but not caring for hair, and
There's a
maybe
huge
seeing someone.
difference.
Yeah, it's a massive difference. And if people see those things in their profile, maybe those are flags for them.
And that works for some people. I don't like to say that there is a good or bad way to go about things, because there's so many circumstances now. Again, you have the everyday hustler who's really talented at braiding but doesn't
Yeah.
know anything about natural hair care. Now, I do think that they need to be more responsible in how they move, but that's not gonna they're still out there. They're going to be there. So I think you have to decide as a consumer and as a paying client what kind of experience it is that you want. And if
Yeah.
that's not the experience that you want, you just move on. There's a lot of us out here that are really talented, that are able to do
Mhm.
a style from top to bottom, beginning to end. You just have to find those people. But I don't know. I think it's wasted energy to get irritated with the people that are limited, because at least they're telling you, look, I'm limited. I only do X, Y, and Z. It's unfortunate. I don't think that it's right, but it's, you'd hate to get in the chair and find that out.
Yeah, that's true. It's better that you know before you've booked the appointment, before you've parted with money. But it feels like there is something about bringing that hair care experience back into these interactions with customers and stylists, because that might be why the relationship feels a bit broken at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, for
They have to
stylists,
be invested. I wish, and
yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, I just wish that more people were invested in caring for Black women versus making money doing hair. It's a
Mhm.
big difference. And now there's more people making money doing hair than caring for Black hair.
Yeah. And I've said this to somebody else before, but we can't. It's very difficult for us to say we want to be treated better by others when we're not treating each other well or well enough. So when you're going into something, you want to make sure at the end of it, not only does that person love the way that they look, but they feel really happy about the service they've been provided. If they
Yes.
walk in and they're like, I had to do half of this at home and I'm kind of half happy with the style that I've walked out with, I don't think I'd spend this money again.
Yeah,
You've made your money that day, but what have you lost in the process?
exactly. The client retention has got to be poor these days. I'm sure of it because there's no way that people are keeping up with these half services.
Mm. And I think that's that's something that's really challenging, but it's almost like how do we go about fixing that and changing that process so stylists can walk away being well paid, but then customers walk away feeling, okay, great, this is a service that's
It
genuinely
was a good investment.
yeah, it's a good investment of my time, my money, my energy.
Hmm.
um but yeah, I feel like that might be a whole conversation of itself, trying to find the answer to that question.
It is, and we can only govern ourselves. I would love to put like an all around statement that everyone that puts their hands in Black hair needs to be properly educated, but there's so many loopholes and there's so many and that's coming from a basement stylist. I didn't have a license until 2009. And I've been doing hair since I was 16. So I was washing hair though. You know what I'm saying? I was washing people's hair. So I think integrity has to be important to that person,
Mm.
and that's just not, it's not like that anymore, not
Yeah,
as often as it should be.
yeah. And I mean, one of the things that is also really important is understanding, on one hand, your stylist, because you need to make sure that person really knows what they're doing. But there's also a lot that happens when they're not with a stylist, and a lot of that revolves around products, you
Yes.
know. And I know that you teach a class about cosmetic literacy to help people understand the science behind hair care products. So a question that comes up for us time and time again is, what should people look out for when they're choosing a good product, or they're looking for a good product to help them manage their hair?
I will definitely say hair products, I'm a little more lenient in my class. I really focus a lot on skin because skin is our biggest organ. It absorbs most of, I believe 60% of what we put on our skin is absorbed into the bloodstream. So that's really my hard focus, but the scalp is still skin. So when it comes to products, you want to keep it as clean as possible. I know there's a lot of ingredients typically in hair care products because you have thickening agents and drying agents and conditioning agents. It's a lot going on. But I think if I had to name like a top 3 or 4 ingredients, I would definitely say formaldehyde is something to stay away from. I think we all know that that's a high carcinogen. It can progress cancer cells. That's a lot of the warning with these products, is that a lot of them are cancer causing. So you have parabens, which also, parabens, we do have alternatives like Castile soap. Uh, oh no, that's for surfactants. My apologies. Because sulfates is another big thing that people are trying to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, again, this is a matter of getting a educated stylist to help you navigate this, because even things like the hair typing system that were designed to help us shop
Mm-hmm.
harmed us in a way. Now we have texturism. We have, the 4 A's versus the 1 B's. We have people that are comparing their textures to other people on YouTube and getting misguided information from that. So having a stylist that really cares about black hair, that really cares and is knowledgeable about textured hair is super important. We have several different textures on the head, so different products for different things. And climate is also a big part of that too. If you're,
Yeah.
I'm in LA, this is the desert, it's dry. And the products that I use here and how I care for my hair here is going to differ than from when I'm at home in Chicago, where there is humidity and we're at a different altitude. So I think those things also play a major role. But to get back to the ingredients, formaldehyde is definitely a no-no. Sulfates are a no-no. However, I do feel if you are a beeswax or palm edge control, pomade girl, those things have things like petroleum and mineral oil that can be hard to get off the skin. And sulfates, the basis of a sulfate is a detergent. It strips the hair. Sometimes that's necessary depending on how you are caring for your hair in between washes. So
Yeah.
some of this is just a matter of good practice and being aware in your practice, as opposed to this is bad all the time. It's like, no, this is circumstantial.
Yeah. And that
You
was
have to
another question. Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to say that was another question I was going to ask you. You've kind of gone into some of this, but there are so many ingredients. It feels like this happens across the board in lots of industries, but it's things to avoid. And it feels like sulfates, parabens, and silicons are the ones in the hair industry that come up over and over again. Avoid, avoid,
Yes.
avoid. What are your take on some of those? You said parabens are a no-no. Why are they a no-no?
Parabens are designed to prolong the shelf life of a product, which
Right.
is, it's got a great initiative, but again, it can be cancer causing. It can cause issues with, I believe, your hormonal health. So there's other ways that we can prolong the shelf life of a product. And I do, again, feel like there's a big difference between hair products and skin products, because skin products, once they expire, you really should be getting rid of them because they're going on your live skin as opposed to dead tissue.
Right.
So I think there's a bit of a difference, but anything that touches your actual scalp, you definitely want to be mindful of and make sure that you're getting rid of it at the right time. We got to start reading these packages. They typically have a little bottle emoji or graphic, and then it has 12M. So after 12 months, we're done with this.
Right.
Because some
Okay.
of those products, especially in sunscreen, they stop working after a certain time. So I think, just
Oh,
being very aware of the shelf life of your products. But parabens, typically are a no-no. There are certain circumstances where it works, but that's a whole class in itself. Honestly,
yeah.
parabens and sulfates, it's a whole class because you do have some that are lower quality that can be damaging if you're
Right.
using them on the regular basis.
Okay.
However, there are occasions where they are necessary and helpful in like a single use here and
Right.
there. So it's not a hard fast rule with some of these things. It requires you to be aware and like present.
Yeah. It's like having that knowledge as well. And silicons are another big one that keep coming up. What?
Okay, so for me, silicone really adds to the romance of a product. It gives it slip and ease. You know what I'm saying? Like when we feel something for the first time and we like how it absorbs into the skin and how smooth and luxurious it feels. That's usually a dimethicone or a silicone type of situation.
Okay.
Um, as long as it's not over applied and sometimes used with heat, it can be a problem. Like again, it's one of those circumstantial things. But I think just to make sure that no one's using it inappropriately, we just say don't use it at all.
Okay. That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying? But one of my favorite products is a serum by Paul Mitchell, and I use that to straighten people's hair from time to time. But I'm using it on clean hair, and I'm using it one time. It's not a
Right.
repeated offense, and it's not with heat afterwards. It's usually, I mean, heat before. It's usually afterwards when everything is done. I'll take a little bit and I'll just smooth out all the frizz, like things like that. So I think the way that we're using it, like technique, is really a thing, and regimen, how often we're using things like makeup. I always use makeup because that's also my field, but
Mm-hmm.
wearing makeup every single day is not going to be good for nobody.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not, because it clogs the pores. So it's like it's only bad if you're doing it every day. It's only bad if you're
Yeah.
abusing whatever the product is.
Yeah, and I guess it's like finding that balance and understanding, okay, I can use this on my hair occasionally, and
Yeah.
understanding how to remove those things from your hair. Like I said, if you're heavy on like the gels or the wax, then sulfates are fine
You
because
might
you need
need
to get
that.
that
It
out
may
of
it
your
may be
hair.
impossible for you to get your hair clean without some kind of detergent factor if you're using
Yeah,
heavy products on the regular.
yeah, and I mean, I feel like this again. It comes back to getting that education from the right people because otherwise, how are we supposed to know? You know,
Exactly.
everyday people are not going to be taking courses on the ingredients that go into these products.
That's
They're kind of going to
true.
get very surface level knowledge,
Yeah.
um, and the internet is not always our friend when it
No,
comes
it's
to that.
not. You get really lost. But I do think how we analyze food before we put it in the cart is how we should analyze
Mm,
hair and makeup things before we put it in the cart because we're
yeah,
absorbing it pretty much the same way. So it pays for us to be educated because the marketing industry in the beauty space is big on your insecurities and lack of knowledge. So the less you know, the easier it is to get you to buy 6,000 products that you don't need.
yeah, products that you don't need, and also products that aren't necessarily going to do you any good.
Yeah.
And we've all seen the pictures of women with their cupboard or their shelf stacked full of different products, and
It
half
is.
of them didn't work.
Yeah, yeah, because we've been sold that hair typing structure. I mean, big respect to Andre Walker. He was Oprah's hairstylist, came up with the hair typing method chart, but it sent us into a frenzy in a way because the marketing industry took that, the marketing and beauty industry took that and stretched it. So now everything we see is this is specifically for 4C hair. This is specifically for this kind of hair, but some of us have multiple textures in our hair. So then how do you address that? So then we're forever chasing a
Mm.
remedy to a problem we don't know if we actually have.
Yeah, and I think the hair typing system, if anything, was probably one of those systems that were better used by stylists than consumers. Because a stylist would be able to say, oh, you've got a combination of these different hair types. It's good for me to know as the person that manages your hair, versus a
Yes.
consumer that may assume, okay, I've definitely got like 4C hair. And also, your hair can change as you get older. So you can
Yes.
go from like one of the things that I've noticed about my hair, although it's under the head wrap today,
Beautiful.
is that as I've gotten older, it's still very dense, but it's gotten much softer. And
Mm-hmm.
it's gone from what I would have probably, say, 10 years ago considered as like, oh, this is like 4C hair. So I'm thinking it's probably a combination of all the fours. And
Okay.
that's just an observation. But I'm not a stylist, so I'm not a professional. I can't for sure say that, but it feels like it's a combination now. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't even know what to do with that information. So, okay, I've got type 4 hair. What does that mean?
Exactly. And I think it always comes down to three factors: your hair texture, like your curl pattern, because that's going to decide how dry it gets.
Yeah.
Hair density, because a lot of the things that we see are units and enhancements. And we're like, why isn't my hair thick enough? It's like, because the density was amplified on everything that you see typically.
Yeah.
And porosity, your hair's ability to absorb, and elasticity too. Like a lot of us have lost our elasticity because we are heat styling the very front to get it to match our weaves, or we're always stretching it out. And so now it's not as elastic as it used to be. So, yeah, those things change over time based on how we're treating our hair and aging. That is also a factor.
No, 100%. And yeah, I was the victim of like heat damage last year. It was upsetting. I hadn't straightened my hair in years and then had it straightened a little bit. And yeah, some of it did not go curly again afterwards. So I've had to
That
have
is so disheartening because it was one time. You think it's just one time.
once.
And how did you feel about the stylist? Did you feel like she was educated? She was
Oh,
helpful?
she was amazing, but I had basically had my hair styled, but I had like a weave in, left it in for like maybe 6 weeks, and then the front of my hair was out. So I was like, oh, I'll straighten it once every couple of days so it stays roughly with
Mm-hmm.
the shape and the style of the weave. Haven't straightened my hair in years though. So I've gone from not straightening it to doing that every 2 days, And then when I took it out, everything at the back was all fine. And it was just like one little section on this side where I was like, oh, you're not curling. You're not going back.
Heat is hard. Heat is a technique because I don't
Yeah.
really believe that the heat be the problem. It's how it's applied. And when you
Yeah.
apply heat to hair that is not clean, you're asking for it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, you only want to put, especially heat over 400, over 350, it has to be on clean hair or else you are asking for, because it's cooking. Now we're cooking whatever sweat, oils, products that you had in your hair already is now reignited and cooked.
Right. That would explain it because I was in a hot country
Not to
for
mention the tool, because the irons
I
that we use have technology now. So, like, there's factors, there's factors.
yeah, but I feel like it's one of these running themes where the thing that you're talking about is never really the enemy, it's the way in which it's used. So heat is not the enemy.
No,
Like you said, sulfates are not the enemy. Silicons are not the enemy. It's us understanding how to use those things so that we don't do long-term damage to our hair,
we
and so
cannot
we
abuse the
understand how to be
tools.
better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes such a huge difference. But one of the things you mentioned earlier is that you're big on supporting Black-owned hair businesses.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that we love too. We are partnered with, I think, like 15 or 16 different Black owned hair care brands. And so we love learning about new brands that, our listeners and our readers can go ahead and test out. So, what
Mhm.
brands do you stand by that produce really high quality products and hair tools?
I will start with the tools and say, and you've already had her, Felicia Leatherwood's Brush with the Best detangling brush. I have like seven of them. They're everywhere. And I don't even brush my hair. You know what I'm saying? I just have it because I know people need it. Even the baby size one, she has like a travel size. It's
Mhm.
really good at detangling hair when it's wet. I love that brush. Another tool that I like is by EAP. I believe I'm saying that right, but they do the heat tools. So they got really amazing irons, also Black owned. What other tools do I like? There's actually a backpack that I have. I'll have to give you the link to it. But as a freelance artist, how we travel, because I wanted to upgrade how I was traveling with all of my products. And they have a really cute bag. And it's like gold and black. And it comes with those clear bags for me to put all of my products in and sit in really nicely. And it has a compartment for my blow dryer in the back of it. It's just
Yeah,
really nice to travel in style and be able to have things be organized. So I'll be sure to give you guys a link so that you guys have access to that.
amazing.
Absolutely. I actually have, what else? Product wise, I do like Sienna Naturals.
Okay.
That's Issa's brand. I like
Yeah.
Melanin Hair Care, another black
Oh,
owned brand.
I haven't used Melanin Hair Care, but I know it was founded by, I can't remember the woman's name, but she's been like a hair care influencer for years and years and years and years and years. Like,
Hmm.
I would say she was one of the original OG hair care
Yeah,
influencers that was on YouTube before YouTubers became a thing.
actually, yep.
I'm sorry I can't remember her name. For everyone who's listening, again, I'll add her channel to the links in
Yes.
in the written version. Um, but would love to know what you think of her products because this is a hair care product range that's been created by somebody who is an influencer who's been in the space for a long time.
Yes, I like the amount of products that you get, like in the size. I like the oil that she has as well, and I like the hair wrap. There's like a last I checked, she did. I think it's like a stretch jersey, satin stretch. I forget exactly what it is, but it's the fabric that keeps your hair moisturized at night, and it has a little bit of stretch to it. So
Ah,
she's got
okay.
that tool and the products as well. And again, everything isn't for everybody, but I do enjoy, like, I believe she has a leave-in conditioner that you put on before your styling
Right.
creams and gels and stuff. So I enjoy it. I enjoy that product. I also enjoy the Dew. That's a
Okay.
very popular brand. Their setting foam is amazing, even for locks. If I was to two strand twist or braid my hair and I wanted that curly look, I would use that. I also use it on people's edges. Roller sets, really good. I like Camille Rose. She has some really good leave-in conditioners and creams for people to use to hydrate their curls.
Mhm.
Maelle Organics. they
Yeah.
had a big boom over the pandemic because I think they had a sale where all their products were $5, and from that point forward, I saw Mael everywhere.
Yeah. Their deep, their I think it's their Babasu deep conditioner is has a permanent shade space on my shelf in my bathroom. That one is
What
always
color
there.
is that? Is that the
It's pink. The label all the way around is pink, black cap.
okay?
It's like a circular bottle, and it's not that high.
Okay, no, everybody has a fave from Mael Organic, so I'm not surprised. And then hair wise, because girls are doing their extensions, and I love extensions, they're beautiful. I do think we got to start asking more questions about where people are sourcing black hair because I don't know where black girls are cutting their hair off and donating it in this quantity. So that's another question for another day.
Yeah.
But I do like Kinkestry, also black owned, and I like Pure and Texture, which was also recently featured on Beyonce's campaign. So
Oh, okay.
yes, Pure and Texture.
Amazing. Well, that is a long list. Again, don't worry. If you're listening, we will add links so you
Oh,
don't
for
have to.
locks. For locks, I like Talia Wajid. I didn't want to forget that.
Okay, we'll make sure we add all of those links so you don't have to go searching on Google. We'll list them all,
Yes.
so you guys can grab them and take a look for yourselves. But thank you for sharing because I think giving a spotlight to black-owned hair care products and black-owned hair tool products is really important, so that we can kind of build ourselves up in an industry that we're sold to very heavily. Black women
Yes.
spend more than women of any other race on their hair and beauty. We're heavily marketed towards, but the companies that end up landing in our baskets and landing on our shelves at home aren't always the companies that have necessarily come from our community. And I think it's important that we keep investing back into the pool. So thank you for sharing so many.
I'm voting for everybody black.
I feel like, didn't Issa say that?
Yes.
I can't remember where she was, but that was funny.
She was on
We'll
a
find
red
that.
carpet. They were asking her, like, who do you hope wins tonight? She's like, everybody black.
Everybody black.
That is the energy.
uh, and I mentioned this a bit earlier when I was talking about my hair and how I feel it's changed, but what decisions have you started to make about your hair routine as your life has changed? So, as you've had to travel more, as you've started to get older and think about, okay, how do I manage my hair better? And how do I
Yeah.
make sure that it's really given the love and attention that it needs?
Well, I started my lock journey a year ago, and that was a little of a mixed reason why I did that decision. I had always thought about getting my hair locked because I worked in a lock salon in Chicago, and I enjoyed the blackness, if that makes any sense. Like white people get locks, it's a thing, but it's really not. I think when you see people with locks, it's just such a I'm trying to think of the right words, a regalness
Mm-hmm.
that comes with people that have really grown their locks themselves. So I was excited about that journey, but also COVID, one of the side effects of having COVID, and I had it twice, is hair thinning, hair shedding, excessive hair shedding. And we didn't
Okay.
know that, with the vaccine too and the side effects from that. Like it's just a lot going on. So my hair started to shed a bit more than I liked. And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this lock thing, we should do it now. We should
Yeah.
do it now. All the hair that's on my head, I want to keep it. So I started my locks with 2-strand twist. It's been about a year and 2 months. And so
Wow.
that has been my most recent hair change. And I love it because it's freed me of the time and
Mm-hmm.
also made me connect more with myself as far as value. A lot of Black women, our value is tied up in our hair, how we present it, how long it is, how healthy it is. It's our glory. So, like, I had to kind of disassociate my self worth from hairstyles.
Mm-hmm.
So even as a hairstylist, being able to up and change whenever I want, I had to get rid of that a bit. I had to
Mm-hmm.
cleanse myself from being like, oh, I have somewhere to go. Let me slick, let me magician myself so that I can be acceptable to the place that I'm going. Like now I just be like, I'm coming as I am.
Mm.
And the room will adapt to me.
Yeah.
I had to set a new standard when it came to my beauty rituals and my self-worth when it came to this lock journey. So I'm super grateful. Way less products. All I do is rose water and aloe in a bottle, shake it up, mist it when it's a little dry. I do like Lush products too. And I
Okay.
like that they have the little photo of who made it. It's so I just love how they do their marketing. Like you can see who made this particular bottle.
Yeah.
And I use some of their products. I do like whole oils, like olive oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, things like that to kind of seal in the moisture. But I keep it relatively simple. And I love that because it allows me to focus on other things that make me happy, like doing my skincare routine or increasing my wardrobe and getting a better sense of how my fashion is today. So, like,
Mhm.
I think I had to divert some of that energy elsewhere, and locks really allowed me to do that.
Yeah, and I love that because so many people feel that there are people who feel that I love my hair, but do I want to spend all this time on it? And is there a way for me to still love it like in its natural glory, but spend less
Mhm.
time on my hair every day? And I feel that locks, more often than not, they look so much better on people than they think they will. Obviously, they go through that transition when they're growing out their hair, and it's like, oh, okay, it's getting to a length where
It's that
it's starting to form
metamorphosis.
around your face, and people can see how like well it suits them. My brother transitioned to locks a couple of years ago, and it really suits him. And I couldn't have envisioned him with them, but now
Yeah.
seeing him with locks, I can't imagine him without them.
Isn't it nice? And there's several ways to go about locks. My brother has locks. He's semi freeform, so he has more so branches that have little feet on them. Like he decided to go a different route and it works for him. Like as long as he's keeping it clean, that's all I care about. But how they form is it's up to you and how and also you're a stylist because I don't think that people should be starting their own locks technically. I think you should go see a stylist because the density of your hair impacts how many locks you can have, and then
Yeah.
that way as they grow long and get heavy, you have a substantial foundation.
Yeah, exactly. There are some things that you really should go to a stylist for first, and I feel that locks is one of them. It's like when you begin to learn more about how to manage locks, then maybe there are some things that you can start to do yourself. You
At
don't have
home,
to
yeah.
rely on the stylist for everything, but that's quite like I would say that's like quite a big hill to climb alone at the beginning.
Yeah. And they say the first step is to do a ton of research. So YouTube is great for that, but you just got to know when it comes to you and your hair, you got to go see somebody to talk about your situation because
Yeah.
the internet is going to be you're going to get overwhelmed and it may not have anything to do with your hair.
Yeah, yeah. Consultations are king.
Yes, I taught a class just on consultations because it's a real thing that people be skipping.
Yeah. We need to bring consultations back
Bring
into the
consultations back.
everyday. Bring them back into the process, please, because when you have that conversation with a stylist, I will never forget just before like my wedding when I found my hairstylist and we had a phone conversation, but it was just over the phone. I was like, I know you're the right person because the conversation, it was so easy. It was like free flowing. She just got it. She understood what I wanted to see on the day. I got to tell her a bit about like my hair and my history. She got it. She was like, do you want a trial? And I was like, nah, this conversation, I feel like it will be
You
fine.
didn't do a trial, you really trusted it.
I really, and it was, I say that's possible, it's a risk for my wedding day. So maybe not everybody run down that route. But she's hands down one of the best stylists that has ever touched my hair.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that testimony. We need that. And I think to answer your question from a while ago, that is going to be the biggest remedy is making sure that we have proper consultations because you could tell everything you need to know is going to be in that consultation before you sign up for something you don't want.
Yeah, 100. And even if it's like a phone call or video call, if they're far away, even that is better than nothing. You know,
Yeah.
bring back having consultations face to face. That might take some time, especially now that people are so used to doing so much over their phone.
Hmm.
But even in the interim, having a phone call, having a video call, I feel like those could even be game changing. So by the
Yes.
time you get to their seat for the first time, there's some context, and that builds the relationship up in the right way.
Yes. And y'all tell us so much more than what we asked for because it always comes with more emotional like it's emotional. This whole thing is emotional. And I'm in trichology. I'm finishing up my certification, and that's the study of hair loss. And the women not only are coming with their problems, but they're coming with how their problems are weighing on them. And the stress adds to that. So like understanding the full breadth of what it is that you want and where you are in your hair journey helps me guide you through it with the most care and consideration in my language and in the routine that I'm about to ask you to do. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
it helps us get the routine together for you if I know that you're like a busy mom or if you
yeah.
are an at home, work person. Like it just lets me know how I need to come at you when it comes to your homework.
Yeah, that's so true. And that actually reminds me of the consultation that we had, because I made it very clear to her. I was like, look, I love being told what to do. So give me a regime and I will do it like
Yeah.
religiously until my wedding day and probably thereafter. But tell me to go away and do research. I'm not that person. I don't have the time. I have like a business to run, a wedding to plan, two stepsons, like everything.
Yeah.
And she was just like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to tell you to go and do this, that, and the other. And it was the same with the woman that did my nails. She was like, yeah, I'm not going to give you 50 things to do. Take this vitamin, use this cream on your nails like every day, and that will be enough until you come and get your nails done like a couple of days before the wedding. And I was like, thank you.
That's
Thank
how
you.
it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be making life easier. That's the whole point in getting a professional.
Yeah. And then you don't have to do everything, because we learn about these routines that people do. And it's not that they're bad. Like there's some people that have a 20-step skin routine, and if they are passionate about it and they really want to improve their skin in that way, then that's great. But not all of us have that, what's the word I'm looking for? Not all of us have that, like, that energy in their tank.
Yeah.
So it's like, with the energy that I have and the lifestyle that I have, what are the things that I should be doing? And the best way to know is to go to somebody that knows better, so they can say, okay, there might be 10 things that in theory you should do, but because of your lifestyle, do these three and you'll be fine.
See, and
But
I am so big on consistency because all these routines only work if you're consistent.
yeah,
We got to do what's sustainable for your lifestyle today.
yeah, 100%.
Nothing works without that.
100%. And I'm all for sustainability. You have to be able to do it time and time. It needs to become like effortless.
Hmm.
So again, my hair care routine: shampoo, deep conditioner, and then like a hair cream. Three products make up my routine. So anytime I need to wash my hair myself and I'm not going to my stylist, very simple, very straightforward, very easy for me to maintain.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I know another question on products that comes up time and time again. What should you have in your cupboard? We have cupboards with thousands and thousands and thousands of products, but what are the ones that we should always have? Shampoo is one, obviously, but is there anything else that we should definitely keep?
This would be a consultation question. So, because
Okay.
each person is going to be different, because each person
Yeah.
is living with different conditions, whether they're going through stress, anxiety, all these other things, climate change, like there's factors. So I think that's always I have to say that first. But very generically, I would say you need a cleansing, like a cleanser, a clarifying shampoo that gets rid of everything. You need a moisturizing shampoo to bring everything back. You need a protein conditioner to build the hair keratin wise. And then you need a moisturizing conditioner to soften. I think not having both of those can be problematic because hair that is can be overly moisturized won't do anything for you, and hair that's too strong will break. So there needs to be some balance between there. Like I would do a keratin or a protein treatment once a quarter, once a month. It just depends. It depends on you and what your hair might need. And then every other time I would be doing the moisturizing one. So those would be your cleansers and your conditioners. Foundation is everything. I would invest in that. Same thing with skincare. Invest in a good cleanser that has active ingredients and wash your face for at least 1 minute so that all of those active ingredients can actually work. Then I
Mm,
would move into leave-in conditioners and heat protectants. I like liquids over creams just because they absorb a bit better. And if you're going for like a silky blowout, it's better to go the liquid route instead of the cream route. But if you are a curly hair girl, you like to braid your hair curly, then you can afford to use something that has a little more weight, like a lotion or a cream.
Right.
And then the styling agents is going to be completely built on that person, how they wear their hair, how they style their hair. But I think you can get away with going, at least 5 products,
Okay.
5 to 10, but it shouldn't go, you shouldn't have 20 of anything.
Yeah. 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 But that's what we
20
end
is
up.
nuts.
That's what we end up with because there's all of this trial and error and testing to figure out what products we should be using, what products we shouldn't. Uh, and I feel like it's great to have that basis so that people know those types of shampoos, those types of conditioners, again, that type of either hair lotion, hair cream, or hair oil. Again, for anybody who's listening, we're going to have a little section of like nice to knows or things to remember. So we'll
Yeah.
note that down as well so that people can take that away. Um, but no, I love all of that advice. And I feel that just having that standard knowledge can maintain people until they see their stylist again. And that's what's really important so that you're not coming back to your stylist with hair that's damaged because you've been
Because
trying
you did it.
different things in the
Mhm.
meantime.
And I think people really have to be responsible for themselves. I know it can be easier to blame stylists for something going astray, but if you didn't do the homework we gave you,
Yep.
or my personal favorite is when they go to somebody else, they go to
Ooh.
somebody new, get messed up, and then come back
Oh.
to me, and I'm like,
Oh.
now you want me to fix it? Interesting.
Oh, I feel that that's definitely a running trend. I laugh because I have been that person. Like I think it was when I was like 18, I went to a different stylist to relax my hair once. It was not a
Not
good
a chemical service at that.
yeah, I was 18, 19. I'm gonna put it down to age and stupidity. It was a bad idea.
And sometimes we get desperate and we're on vacation or we're in a new city or we got something, our regular person wasn't available. So I get it, but making conscious decisions, still asking those questions, like we
Yeah.
still got to be responsible for whose chair we sit in. And we really have to stop sitting in chairs and letting things that we know shouldn't be happening happen. Like this whole beauty is pain thing and just, I'm going to trust them, they're the professional thing. We got to stop that because if there's a question that you have or something, especially with the edges, like we're pulling the edges, we're braiding the
Yeah.
things, I stop because my clients will sit there and take anything. And I stop
Oh,
and I'm like, hey, tell me if this is too tight because what we're not finna
yeah.
do is rip your hair out in this session. So like I need you to keep talking to me as I'm going through your hair and let me know when things are too tight because it's never gonna be that serious
Mm-hmm.
that
But it's
you
also
end up with
people
the
forget.
white bumps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The no.
and the pain. We don't want that. And I think part of it is being able to say those things respectfully and be like, uh, I know that you're doing my hair, but this doesn't feel right. Have that conversation. And
Yeah.
then part of it is also feeling comfortable enough with the stylist to say it.
You say that. Yeah. Consultation. We're back at the consultation because you should have felt comfortable keeping it real in our first conversation.
Yeah. And then like if you feel that the vibe is off and you feel like, oh, I'm not sure if they'll listen to me, then
You
that's a
shouldn't be
sign not to go to
there.
the appointment.
It's like relationships. You shouldn't be in a relationship where you can't be honest about how you feel about something. You shouldn't even be there.
Yeah, 100%. Um, no, that's such a good point. I love the relationship analogy. And it's a relationship with your stylist. They are like a different partner.
And it's funny that you say that. I do lives. I used to do lives once a month called Hair Ritual Sundays. So on Sundays when I'm doing my hair ritual, I'll get on live and we'll do that on Instagram. But we have one specifically on black hair intimacy.
Okay.
Beautiful topic. Yes, we talked about like you and your partner and how they can aid you in your hair journey, but we also talked about your relationship with the stylist and how it is an intimate relationship. So that's why that consultation is everything. Is this somebody you could be real with? Let them know what's
Yeah.
going on with you. And can you also receive information from them by trusting them? Do they have all the certifications that you like? Like it's an intimate relationship.
100%. And it needs to, if anything, it should always feel like an enjoyable experience, not a painful one. You know, people shouldn't be walking away from their stylist being like, oh, that was a waste of time or a waste of money, or I wish they had done it this way instead of that way. People
Yeah.
should walk away feeling great about it. And that's what we want to help to rebuild that and rebuild those relationships with customers and stylists.
Yes.
Um, but on another note, you have started to transition into hair art. And I think that's
Yes.
something that not many people will know much about. So it'd be great if you can tell us a bit more about, hair art and what that means. And then also how you got into it and where you are now.
Yes. Well, hair art can be anything. We do hair art in cornrows. We do hair art in I really love the 90s. I feel like that's when that was the height of our hair art because we were doing the waterfalls, we were doing basket weaves in the back, we were doing so many different things with hair. So hair art can be anything, but in my realm, I've decided to take it and turn it into clothing, turn it into props, things of that nature. My latest project is called Black Fantasy, and it was basically a celebration of Black hair history through Orishas, original goddesses from Nigeria. So I was able to showcase them in 4 different fashions and incorporate hair art to really embody like their essence. So I have like hair armor, an armor piece that's made out of cornrows and hair beads and things like that. So I'm really enjoying telling the Black hair story with some of the textures, the colors, the forms that we use in our everyday hair. So there were some lock designs that were really amazing and really illustrative. So I'll be sure to send you that link as well so that people can take a look at that.
That would be amazing. I think it's such a good thing for people to see the diversity and the kind of the intrinsicness of all of those designs because they're so beautiful. But it's
Yes.
amazing to see what can be done with hair, in a completely different form.
And we have some beautiful history. While I was creating for this art show, I was able to really get into African beading. The beadwork is so intricate
Yeah.
and they tell different stories. So I was just happy to be able to incorporate some of those ancient practices in a modern way.
Yeah. And there's so much that can be learned from those. Again, it's like passing in the same way that stylists pass things down to the ones that are younger that are coming up. It's almost like passing down that history and sharing that in different ways and different
Yes.
forms.
Absolutely. Getting into the Orishas is a whole other thing. Like just the fact that they represent the elements, you know what I mean? Earth, wind, fire, water, being able to really explore those and see how we can reimagine them in a futuristic aspect. So having some AI in there, having some tech involved, like there's so much to explore. I think it's definitely Wakanda vibes for sure. That's definitely what people were saying as they were entering the art space.
I love that. And hopefully we'll see more of that as stylists kind of work their way into it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think with what I love about a lot of black art is the way that it's like culture is embedded within it, and then you kind of see these stories and that piques your curiosity. You go away, you learn a ton of things, and then you
Yes.
come back with all of this. Oh, I didn't know that was that was a thing. I didn't know that was a ritual. I didn't know that had existed, and it can be the beginnings of people learning so much.
That was the exact thing that happened to me with this beadwork. I was developing a crown for one of the goddesses, and as I looked up like African beadwork, I was like, this is a whole thing. This is a whole thing. Like these women, and they just do it so effortlessly. And I was struggling with my little, because they're like so tiny, and it's such a big design made out of tiny elements, and the focus, the
Yeah.
intricacies. So I'm grateful that this is where we come from. We were made for this, you know.
Yeah. And it just goes to show, I mean, I feel like that, again, the concentration, the intricacy, the time, a lot of that, those things that translate to lots of different arts definitely translate to hair. Hair is
Yes.
something that you have to be patient with. You have to take your time, you have to learn. It is intricate most of the time. So there's so much that we can learn from that, like artistry, that can just translate to also hair care and hairstyling as well.
Yes, all in one. I love us.
And so we've got a couple of questions left. One is for all of the stylists out there. So, what advice do you have for stylists who are trying to build their profile up? So, they're trying to get more clients in and understand how to really look after them.
You have to be diligent because it's going to be slow initially. My When I transitioned from Chicago, having that base clientele kind of solidified and moving to LA and starting from scratch, I had two clients and both of them were my friends. So doing a good job with those two clients, that became my marketing. They went out and told their friends. They went out and marketed for me. I didn't really have to do a lot. I think the platforms do help, but I think investing in those is helpful just to kind of broaden your reach online. The internet is so amazing now that we have the ability to talk to people across the world. Look at us,
Mhm.
so I think you should utilize those tools, be really diligent, get your friends involved, people that want to support you, post it online, and don't just post it once. We got to stop making content and thinking it's one and done. It's not. This is content that we should be continuing to use, using the links. There's a lot of tools involved. I also think that getting in a salon space is healthy so that you can rub elbows with people that are more seasoned in the game. You can rub elbows with people who are newer in the game and have a better hold on the more modern techniques when it comes to, braiding and curling and tools and things like that. Like having that mixed environment really does help you as a stylist. And I think that's something that is lost a bit now. Um,
Mm.
but on the flip side, you have people that have been stationary in the salon and refuse to move and do anything different. So you got to find your balance. I think freelance is great for keeping you sharp and on your toes, but the salon is great for um, sharpening those skills that can't be sharpened without being in an environment with other creatives.
Yeah.
So I think that's really big, and doing photo shoots is a part of it as well.
Okay.
But with the photo shoots, we need to be doing contracts because there's far too many times that we show up and either the model is faulty or the photographer is faulty. So having contracts built in, even if it's just trade work, like there's no money exchange involved, no monetary gain, but we
Hmm.
all want to come together and create, document everything and have everybody
Yeah.
sign things so that we all agree that this is what we're doing and this is how we're following up and these are how my photos going to come. This is the date that it's going to come because it
Yeah.
gets crazy. But photo shoots are definitely a great way to get clean images of your work that are detailed that you can, have more of a hand in. Because sometimes when you do other people's projects, it's nice, but it may not be the angle that you need that's going to really push the hair. So you want to start orchestrating photo shoots and visuals to really capture your work the way that you need to, but make sure that it's contracted.
Yeah, no, that's such good advice, and also it saves time, headache. Make sure everybody walks into the situation knowing what they're doing and who's responsible for
Yes.
what.
Far too many times. It actually happened with my last project once. But it's the worst when you put in all that work and then you can't find the photos because the photographer's not picking up the phone or not texting. Now he's too busy to get back. Like there should have been a contract in place so that we all
Yeah,
know what we said we were going to do, and now you have to do it.
yeah, 100%. Like that's so important, especially when you're building yourself up and you're
Yeah,
relying on that content so that you can share it and get
yeah.
it out there in front of people so they can see your work. Finally, last question. You have been busy doing many things, and so it will be great to know what is next for you.
I definitely want to host workshops for people to learn more about Black hair, the everyday person, not necessarily professionals, because you have those people like the single dad that doesn't know how to do hair, or
Yeah,
the Caucasian mom with the mixed daughter who doesn't know how to do her hair, like, or the Black girls that really never learned how to cornrow. Still
yeah,
a surprise to me always, but I'm like, no, we got to get you up to date because when you have kids, you don't want to be relying on a stylist to do things that you can do, like, swim class or camps and things like that.
yeah.
You want to be able to take care of your child without needing a professional. So I would love to do workshops for that. Cosmetic literacy, continuing to educate about that, and then applying for uh, spaces and gallery exhibits for Black fantasy. So continuing to use my imagination, use my platform to really push Black futurism, Afro-futurism in modern day society. Like we need to see it more. We far too many times do we see everything that we do being about slavery or ancestry in a way that's aged it just ages us. We don't see enough depictions of us in the future. So I feel
Yeah,
like that's my space, is seeing like, so what does it look like for us to be healthy, Black, and thriving
yeah.
later?
Oh no, I love all of that. I mean, it sounds like there's plenty.
There's so much to do. We haven't even talked about products. This isn't the actual juice, but this is the bottle. But this is one of my products that I've curated with a Black owned juicery in San Diego. So
That's
continuing to
amazing.
do this. Yeah, because my thing is really about getting Black people well from the inside out. Hair and skin is only a barometer of our health. So if we're not
Yeah,
healthy, it's hard to be doing all these topical things to make it look healthy. So I'd rather just get
yeah,
us healthy, and then we can explore other creative things to do with ourselves.
yeah. 100%. It's like you start from the inside, work your way out. I love all of that. Again, we will add links to any of the
Yes.
projects that you're working with so that people can keep an eye on them and see them as well. But
Yes.
I mean, Kaori, thank you because it's
Yes.
been, first of all, an hour has gone by incredibly quickly.
Right. It's been an hour and some change. You've been here for a
Yeah,
minute, but it was good. I think we touched on a lot of things that people need to be aware of and conscious of. So it was all in good. All
yeah.
in
No,
good.
it's been amazing, and I think one of the things that I love about these conversations is there is so much that we need stylists for, and having that education, having that knowledge and that experience of, okay, this is what it takes, this is what we need to do to become really great stylists as well, so that we're bridging that gap between what customers need to know, what stylists need to know. So thank you for sharing everything that you've shared with us today.
Yes, of course.
It's been a really lovely conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored. These spaces really make a big difference. So thank you for having me.
Oh, that's fine. It's really been great for us, and a big thank you to everybody who's listened as well, because you've been with us
Mhm.
for over an hour too. So for those that made it to the end, thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for listening. And like I've mentioned before, we'll add links to Kiara's socials, her websites, the products that she mentioned. So don't worry about having to keep note of all of those. We'll add links to our podcast, not our podcast, sorry, our newsletter, where you can see more of what we've written as well.
Mhm.
But if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to subscribe, like the podcast, share it with people who you think could benefit from hearing these conversations, because we want to help more people in the textured hair care space. And so, again, a big, big thank you to all of you. And we will see you on the next episode.
Yes.